Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second Uncorked event. I had the privilege of being featured during the September event and was thrilled to see an amazing group of women in the room that evening, and I'm sure we have a large crowd this evening as well. Pam, I really wanted to be there to cheer you on, but I'm so sorry I'm unable to be there, but wanted to send you our best wishes, and I'm sure you'll be engaging and inspiring to the women in the room. I want to wish everybody a great evening, have fun, network, and enjoy yourselves. See you soon.
All right, well, I want to welcome everyone, and thank you so much for coming to the second Uncorked. We had an amazing turnout last time. Jill Polton was with us, and Prabha, and it was a great, I think we had about 40 minutes. It was really just great to talk to these people and learn a little more. When I opened up last time, I talked about surrounding yourself with kindness, and I applauded all you for being here, because we need to surround ourselves with kind people, people who want to see us succeed, people who have our back when times get bad. Those people will help us move forward. So I just want to talk to you a bit, because I've talked to Pam. I want to talk about following the opportunities, and following the opportunities that are put in front of you, because there are so many every day. And I wonder if you wonder sometimes, what would happen if I didn't take that opportunity, or I missed it? I want you to know that you never miss the opportunity. The opportunity is always floating around you. If you happen to pass it that day, it might come back the next day. If it was meant for you, it's gonna float back around, and you just grab it. So I wanted to share, I always share a story, and when I was about 20 years old, and I'm a mechanical engineer technologist by trade. I used to assist in the design of 18-wheeler tank trailer units. Couldn't stand the job. Graduated, went to work. A year and a half later, I was laid off. The company was bought out by the competition. I didn't have a job. So I thought, well, I'll just take the first opportunity that came along. Was the Arthritis Society, and they needed a fundraiser, and it was to do a running event. I'm like, oh, I run, I can do this. And the woman who hired me said, "You had fire in your eyes." I'm like, well, good, because I got a car payment and I got nothing else. I took the job, I worked hard, absolutely loved events, and if you know, I have an event management firm today. But I worked hard, and as I worked hard, more opportunities came, and I was so excited. And then at one point, you kind of get bored. I mean, probably the 7-year itch or something, and you're like, I need something new. And I had applied for Basketball Canada. I'm a basketball player, and I applied, and the national team wanted to hire me as their marketing coordinator, which again is funny because I don't have a marketing degree, remember, the mechanical engineer technologist. But that opportunity came, I accepted the job, I was going to Toronto 2 weeks, and then I met this boy. That night, I had a date. I accepted the job, I had my first date with Ward. And I came home that night and went like, I can't go. Now, if anyone knows me, I was not the dating type. I didn't date men for very long. I dated a lot, I didn't date very much. That's a story, That's a story, that's another day. So I came home that night, and it was funny, and I said, I can't accept this job. I've met the guy. And from that date on, so that was 17 years ago, I just celebrated my anniversary, I have always had this gut feeling about opportunity, and that you'll feel it, you know it. And if you do miss it, don't ever regret. Don't think, oh, keep moving forward, because those opportunities are going to come back. So I believe that there is a big master plan for all of us, and it doesn't go like this. It goes, oh, awesome idea, okay, I'm learning here, learning, oh, really great, oh, learning, but we're going that way. It's not always straight. So thank you for coming here today. This is an amazing opportunity for all of us. Just to step out and meet someone new. If you haven't met Pam, you're going to love her. I'll tell you, I have waited for this opportunity for, when was your last Power of Pink?
It was last year.
Last year. And I wrote notes on Pam, I wanted to interview her, but on my show, I only interview for 5 minutes. And I went, this needs more than 5 minutes, and my opportunity has come. So I get to interview Pam today. So now I will introduce Pam. So Pam is the president of Phoenix Group, which is Saskatchewan's largest leading and award-winning advertising agency. And in this world of message bombardment, we all know about it, Pam and her talented team deliver insight and communication strategies to help businesses succeed. She leads by example, striving for excellence and creating a rewarding work environment and giving back to the community. She has held numerous board positions as well as chaired many volunteer committees, including founding and chairing the Power of Pink 13 years ago. She is a survivor and a warrior. Never underestimate the power of pink, never underestimate the power of women, and never underestimate a short, great haircut. So please welcome Pam Klein.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
so take 2 minutes to introduce yourself to all of us.
Well, Lisa did an awesome job in her introduction. I'm really happy to be here. And I guess in 2 minutes, I love your analogy of opportunity is up and down and all over the place. And I spoke at an event last week, and if I were to describe my career path as a visual or something tactile, it would be a Ming tapestry. And the Chinese analogy may come clear in a little bit, but it is very colorful. It's very intricate. There's a lot of detail. My path hasn't been linear in any way, yet it's very purposeful. And I think that's kind of an umbrella for where I am today and the career path that I've taken. You heard that I'm president of Phoenix Group. I've been there 20 years. Before that, I've had some really fantastic opportunities that I took along the way, and how I got here wasn't how I started. But it's been a really rewarding career. I'm from Saskatchewan, Saskatoon originally, Regina. I've had the opportunity to work across Canada. I've worked in various places around the world, and it just has accumulated to give me this richness that I now can experience in the job that I have. And part of that richness has come I have 2 young adult children, so my husband and I are, as they say, empty nesters, but the nest keeps getting filled up again. But it's we are in a very great time in our life where everything that you work hard for, we realize, we see it, and we can continue to add and change what we're doing in our life and what we add to our pot.
So with all of your colorful opportunities, how did you get into this business?
I got into advertising through failure. I had my whole life dreamed of being a psychologist. I played a psychologist as a kid. I played on my friends as their psychologist, and my undergraduate degree was in psychology. I was accepted in the U of M into the psychiatry program there, and it was fantastic. My dream was being realized. I was in my early 20s. And then the unfortunate happened, natural sciences. And I failed. I failed every one of my science classes, and I was momentarily devastated. And then I had a very fortuitous meeting with a wise prof who was in the area of educational psychology. And she introduced me to one of the sciences that I did get, computer science and education. So I branched off into a new faculty at the University of Manitoba, which combined instructional design and curriculum design. And I focused on computer-based instruction for people with challenged learning requirements. So I took linear paths, broke them into nonlinear paths for learning, and created interactive and digital training through my degree. And from there, my husband and I, we started our business in the East Coast, because the East Coast was actually very progressive. We developed programming for interactive training for autistic children to teach direction, artificial intelligence for program estimating. I worked with the Department of National Defense in developing armored fighting vehicle recognition for the military. So there was a wide range of training and development from business, private, health, as well as psychological. So this evolution was kind of going along. And then we moved to Regina to have our family, moved back to Regina. And for 7 years, I was working with Canada Life. And after 7 years of teaching interactive sales training in death and dismemberment, it got a little bit tired. So again, it was another fortuitous opportunity that came along. And one of my colleagues introduced me to the agency. And with some smart talk, I got a position at Phoenix Group. I was way over my head. My first 3 months, I was covered in hives. I'd never developed a website in my life. But it was kind of the first of what's turned into 20 years of a pretty awesome experience. It's a good gig.
I can see our mouths are dropped. It's like, really? Did anyone know this? Did anyone know? Amazing, and I love the failures that turn into such success. Was there ever one person that inspired you, or maybe you had a failure or not, and just inspired you to move forward? One person, one thing?
If it were one, it was my father, for sure. I call him a serial entrepreneur. From a very young age, I came from a very fortuitous upbringing. Mine is not one of hardship, abandonment, poverty, starvation. His was more to that area. So he instilled from a young age when he had to quit school to raise money for his family. He was a 15-year-old pool shark. He was a salesman because he actually got into the pool hall to raise the money. He had multiple paper routes. He was just driven, but he was always compassionate. And when he made it, when he was having his family, he instilled in us that you have to take that opportunity. It is your responsibility to do with what you're given. And he always maintained that there's almost a greater struggle or challenge when you are from an upbringing of not fortune in riches, but fortune is an opportunity. And he goes, you have to make something of it. So it came from him, and he'd push and challenge me far outside my comfort zone on many, many occasions.
Well, this makes me think of the photo on your website. There's a photo of you, and you're holding a book called Daring Greatly, and it's How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent, and Lead by Brene Brown. So why, now I think I understand, but that book, explain, you took that book into your photo. You're showing us all. Explain the book.
Well, I think, who knows Brene Brown's work? Pretty remarkable, and it was a gift from a good friend of mine, Kelly Garrett, who I actually hired when I was put into the position of president. Smart work got me there, not smart talk that time, but I was still over my element. And I realized I had to learn pretty quickly what my leadership looked like and felt like. And it was a book that she gave to me. And it really struck a chord with me because I'm somewhat of a controller, maybe. I'm pretty driven, and I needed to kind of step back a little bit and realize that perfection isn't the goal, and vulnerability is not a weakness. And I've read several of her books now, and I come to realize that to really be able to live courageously and give and experience and grow, you need to be able to not always be in control. You need to be able to check in with yourself and find out what are those things that challenge you. What does it mean to really live fully and expand yourself? And that is not being perfect and not trying to be perfect and not always trying to pursue that, well, I'm not quite enough, or this isn't quite enough. And she sheds light on that in a very practical, real way.
I worked under Kelly, and she has always, you don't need to be perfect. And I think she's at a Brene Brown training right now. Yeah.
She is, yeah.
All right, so I think you may have answered a little bit of this, but what are the 3 most important things you do or did that contributes to your success?
I try to live by the values that are important to me. And I really have honed it into 3 of them. The one that I was mentioned earlier that I was brought up on was responsibility. Take responsibility and pursue opportunity and make the most of it. Another one is to have compassion, and this is really where I believe wholeheartedly in whatever you have to give in time or money, we have more than someone else, and it's on us to share that compassion. And the other one is to live with integrity, do what's right, and it's kind of my northern star when I'm faced with difficult questions, challenges. If I can in my heart say I'm doing the right thing, I'm okay with whatever direction it takes. The other thing is to seize the opportunity that we've talked about. It's not, you just have to be open to it, and I call it pivot. You got to be able to respond and move and take what comes your way. I think that's really important, and be able to make the most of that responsibility and opportunity that you're giving, and set goals. If you don't know where you're going, as the saying goes, you're not going to get there. So set goals, achieve them, and then set some more.
Was that more than 3?
No, well, if you told them,
good.
There were 6. There were 3, and in the first one there were 3. So 3 main ones.
I love it. All right, well, on a little switching a bit, you were diagnosed with breast cancer in 2002. So my first question is, what went through your mind? What happens at that moment?
There's milestones in your life, and I've mentioned this before. You remember the birth of your child, your graduation, your first job. When you hear those words that you are positive for infiltrating ductal carcinoma and you have cancer, it never leaves you. So I remember very clearly what I wore that day, what we ate that night, what I had to do that evening. But as far as what the doctor said after that, it was kind of like wah, 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 wah. Unfortunately, my husband was with me, so he could take on the next steps. But first it was, oh my God, what about my kids? Oh my God, what about work? And then it was, oh my God.
Can anyone else relate with that? Has anyone been in this situation? Yeah. As you do. I've been in a death situation where I could have, and it was like, my first thought was my kids. I was like, anyway. So do you think you're a bigger risk taker now because of the diagnosis? Does life changed?
That's such a big question. Life changes for sure. I have a depth of gratitude. I didn't feel gratitude on April 11th in 2002, but cancer ironically taught me gratitude, so certainly have that. A risk taker that you've got nothing to lose, that's certainly part of it, and sprinkled with a little bit of Brené Brown. I see that stronger for sure.
Do you leave your comfort zone more every day? I mean, maybe it's every day. You're always pushing yourself, following opportunities. Is it?
Absolutely, and that is, it may not be cancer that did that. I think it's a culmination in our life experiences where whatever it is that triggers us to want to do more, achieve more, no rock unturned, those kinds of thoughts, for sure it's there. And actually I said to a friend of mine one time, I said, I'd like to be less out of my comfort zone. More in my comfort zone might be a kind of a nice place to be for a while. But it's also exciting. It's not, there isn't the opportunity and the challenge if you coast.
Opportunities don't happen when we sit on couches and eat chips.
I like doing that too.
I do too. All right, well, I think women often find it hard to ask for things. And whether it's a business opportunity or whatever it is, we simply expect others either to do it for us or we don't ask. So my question is, have you ever found it hard to ask for something? Something you wanted? Maybe then, maybe you're different now?
Mm-hmm. Asking is difficult. And I always think, oh, should I ask, shouldn't I? Whether it's a fundraising event, it's always that putting yourself out there and what are people going to think. But what's the worst that can happen is they'll say no, and they'll know a little bit more about what you're trying to achieve. So it's one of those cases of, you put yourself out there and ask. And if it's important enough, you're coming from the right place.
I'm going to read this one. Was there ever a time in your life when you had a dream where no one supported it? Or you were on a career path and all of a sudden you realized this was not the path you wanted and you moved forward in another direction? But just really, what happens when you think you had your dream? And you did talk about this a little bit, just how important it is to keep going.
The story that I did share with, like when you have your eye on a dream and it doesn't come through, but you have to be able to respond, and how long you delay, how long you ponder that, you give yourself time to feel bad, but you do have to pick yourself up. And I think the same thing, one thing that cancer taught me on that was a pretty big challenge. That kind of derailed a lot of things, but everybody, each diagnosis is unique, each treatment is unique, and how each person living with cancer handles it is they handle it the best way they can. So what it does is it teaches you that you have to keep going the best you can. And for me, I wasn't going to let cancer define me. It's certainly a big part of my life, but I knew I wanted to keep working. My kids were 4 and 7, so that was a challenge to our kids watch what we say and do and how we act, and it mattered how I handled that situation for them.
Thank you. So over the past many years in your role at Phoenix, and you've had many roles in the community, you make a difference in a lot of women's lives. I think of all the things you've done for us. So my question is just, do you have any words of advice for women who they want to make a difference, they don't know where to start, maybe they are making a difference, they want to make it bigger, like just people who want to make a difference, but they don't know where to start. They know they're here, the opportunity's here. What do you do?
I think you just mentioned it, with the difficulty of asking. I think if you're setting out to do something big or small, something you haven't done before, just think about someone who has done it, or somebody who is in that area, because we want to help. I will take calls anytime for anyone when it's to help them move along. But it really, the first step is asking. If you don't know where to go, find somebody who can help you and ask for that help. And be determined that it's important to you, and with that confidence, it's important worth asking help for.
Yeah. We were at Tina Beaudry-Mellor, were you, when she spoke, and she talked about stepping up, and we need to make a difference. Join the boards, join your community. Any comments on that? Like, if you want to do that, I know that I sent an email out. I knew a group looking for board members, and I sent it out to the women that I knew were at that meeting. It's like, here's an opportunity. But do you post it on Facebook? Hey, I'm looking to join a board. I need or do you just call the charity?
Well, there's a couple ways that you can go, and board involvement is really important. One, it builds a network. It can fulfill that drive you have to make a difference in a community, and it's an incredible learning opportunity. What I've learned on boards is an education that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. So it starts with, again, that ask people. Ask people in your network, and if your network isn't one of board engagement, rather, find out someone that is. And another option is to go to the charity. I do believe there is a shortcoming, and I think there's an app for this, that can match skill sets to board positions to opportunities, because you don't always know what's out there. But you posting or sharing an email was a great way to go. But if you're pondering, wondering, ask.
Yeah. If you want to do something and you love a certain charity, call them. I bet they're looking. The email that I received was they're looking for women. They want women on their boards. So many people are looking. Just make the call or ask your friends. That's what we're here for. So,
and I think the network with the Women Entrepreneurs of Saskatchewan, that's a great network to draw on, and other networks that you might have, and think about where you are in your life right now. It could be a school board. It could be a child daycare space. There's so many varieties of board possibilities that you can explore, but it just takes one to get going, and I'll tell you, once you're on one, the calls are going to start coming.
Great. So I know that you are super busy. You are always running. I mean, I've seen you on Facebook, 2 dogs, family in and out coming. How do you fit it all together? How do you got a lot going on. You got community work, you got life, you got a husband, you got 2 dogs, you probably got to walk. How do you make it all work? Do you have an app for that?
No, I think everyone in this room is. I know many of the women in this room, and we face the challenge, and men face the same challenge as well. But it's a balance when you fit it. Again, my kids are older, but even when they were young, they were for sure a priority. But for me, balance requires involvement in the work. Like you mentioned, there is work, there's my personal network of friends and family, and certainly community. So sometimes as there is with opportunity and choice, there's an ebb and flow in that, where that emphasis is. But you find what matters, and that's what you do. And I say the older you get, we do get a little bit smarter. And I have a little tag on my screen at my desk that says obligation or satisfaction. And it really helps me make some of those important choices when you've got a lot coming at you. But it's just being smart and deciding what matters.
When you were younger, do you have the same, when you were 25 and working hard and working all the hours and forgetting about your friends because you were working so hard, that's changed now? But I'm thinking of the women there's some of us that are, and I'm passing over to the, I'm not going to work as hard, I'm going to go with friends. But I forgot about them when I was 30 because I was working 18 hours a day. And I was that you? I'd like to know that was you. Tell me that you did do that.
Well, it might have been me last week, maybe. It happens. It doesn't I don't have the luxury, nor do I want the luxury of just lounging about and having those chips on the couch. But it's still prioritizing. And your friends, I have friends from many, many years ago and friends now, and we ride and we call on the people in our life that we need at a particular time, but it does come to prioritizing. And the one thing that is super important is that you make time for yourself physically. That's one of the biggest lessons learned from health. I'm certainly not saying I got cancer because I was a working phenomenon or anything like that, but you need to, if you have to, and I do, schedule time for you. Every day there's time. I schedule time for times with my husband and I. It's just what you need to do because time will slip by. It'll be, oh my gosh, it's 18-hour day already? You can't do that. You just can't.
Some days you can, not all the time. So you did answer the question I was going to ask you, how do you recharge? Sounds like friends, workout, I don't know.
It's scheduled. I do yoga and workouts. I get 5 in a week. I'm an early morning person, so I do that in the morning, and that just fuels my day. As I said, it's scheduled time. With my husband, we take several trips in a year, but it's those little things that matter most. It's great to take a trip and get away, and I'm going to recharge after a week or two on a beach somewhere. But we need to recharge every day. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes, if it's an hour, something that helps clear your mind.
Shot of vodka.
That works.
So I want to thank Mercedes-Benz of Regina. Joanne, thank you for hosting us each week or each month. Thank you. And I love the new layout. This is great. The lights are down. This is fabulous. I want to thank Walnuts and Bar Nuts for catering and the bar service. Thank you very much, Lori and Ryan. And of course, our West sponsors, we have the Virtus Group. I don't know if anyone is here from Virtus Group today, but we really thank them, as well as Miller Thompson, Amy and Kyla. Are you guys here?
It's Rachel tonight.
It's Rachel. Thanks for coming to share the time with us.
Thank you, Lisa. You are the best.